What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fit Design TV. As always, so glad to have you guys back on the channel. On today's episode, I'll be answering the question, and this is one that I often get a lot. Should I and do I need to hire, as a new brand, professional models for my product and my advertising photography? Well, if you want the too long dinner read and you don't have the time to spend, I would say no, you do not need to hire professional models. But if you want to know more, and specifically how you can actually hire professional looking models, people that are meant to represent your brand for a good budget and essentially get people that are aligned with the vision of your brand to push the brand forward, well, stick around, you guys are in for a good one. Welcome to Fit Design TV. Are you interested in sports fashion, design, and manufacturing? Are you establishing your own brand? You're looking good. Anthony, how are we doing? Do you want to? Thank you. Well, you've come to the right place. Lights, camera, action. So, in the beginning of this episode, I mentioned that you do not need to hire professional models, right? This age-old way of creating a brand and approaching an agency and hiring models in order to do your proto shoots or your product shoots and your advertising photography. This is an outdated notion of advertising fashion. In this day and age, we actually have such a wide and we have availability of models, people to shoot with, right? Long gone are the days of us having to approach an advertising agency or a modeling agency and asking them to hire specific types of models for us. We can get onto Instagram, we can get onto TikTok, we can go pretty much anywhere where there's a social presence and access thousands and thousands of models. So where does this leave us? Well, it leaves us with a specific use case scenario. As a brand, you are choosing who you want to represent your brand. Just because you're getting America's Next Top Model does not necessarily mean that this is the right person to represent your brand. The first question you must ask is not, should I hire a professional model? The first question you should ask is, who do I want to visually represent my brand? And this always starts with understanding what you stand for and who you're trying to sell to. So let's just assume that you're a female-focused brand operating in the sort of 30 to upper 30s range because you're a luxury brand and you're looking for women who are professionals and essentially can afford to pay for the products you're offering. Well, then creating advertising products and advertising photos that feature very, very, very young women that have a very girly aesthetic or a lack of maturity to them, this is probably not the right approach. These women can be stunning, right? But if your target customer cannot connect with the faces that they see, it's just not going to make sense. You're going to spend a lot of time and money in order to do this. On the flip side, what are some of the advantages of hiring professionals as opposed to working with, and I'll tell you in a second who I would recommend you work with, but working with quote unquote amateur models or someone that you may find as an influencer on Instagram. Really, and I've noticed this firsthand, is that a professional model is going to approach the product and the shoot as a professional. They're going to know how to act in front of camera. They're going to know how to pose. They're going to allow you and they're going to allow themselves to get into the flow, to get into what you're trying to achieve from the photo shoot much easier and with much less direction than someone who's a non-professional. I've actually held two of these same shoots, one with a professional model and one without a professional model. And I noticed when it came time to working with the professional, they immediately knew where they had to stand. They knew which angles were their most flattering. They knew how they needed to pose. There was a lack of awkwardness. They were also able to give the photographer tips in terms of where to shoot from, right? This comes with experience. Anyone who's a professional at anything is able to go above and beyond to make your job easier. So there is a point, or there is an argument to be said about hiring models, but always make sure that the look, the feel, the face, the attitude is something that aligns with your core demographic. What I would recommend, instead of necessarily going after professional models, what you want to do is understand your target audience and understand who you want to represent the face of your brand that is able to emotionally connect with your customers, where your customers are always able to see themselves in this person. You can get this person through Instagram, but what is important is that they are professional. They have some experience in being able to be shot, right? Some of these quote unquote professional Instagram models are not necessarily as professional as they may seem. So you want someone who takes their job seriously and someone who is comfortable around camera, someone who's going to represent your brand in an accurate way, someone who's going to show up on time, who's going to be able to be posed correctly. If you have another model, you want them to be able to flow and to integrate with the model, and you want someone who's reliable, someone where you can work with them time and time again, right? You want to be able to build a relationship. Sometimes working with these agencies, they rotate these models. So just because you have access to one or two of these models now does not necessarily mean you'll have access to them in the future. So this is the case to be said. The access to faces to represent your brand has been democratized through social media. Take advantage of that. Build meaningful relationships with the people, one-to-one. Cut out the middleman, cut out the agencies, and be able to connect with the people representing the face of your brand. Long gone are those days where you would essentially bring in a model and they would represent your brand in a one-off fashion, right? Now the faces that represent the brand are essentially the way that the brand is perceived. If you look at some of the biggest brands that I see, specifically a brand like Alphalete, right? This type of company meticulously curates who they present on their social media pages. They do this because they want consistency. They want the type of people that they're putting at the forefront of their pages to accurately represent their brand and to be able to communicate with their customers in a way that actually gets through to them. So guys, one more time, if you guys are looking to hire someone who's professional, but they don't necessarily have to be a quote unquote or a professional model. Get someone who represents your brand and someone you feel comfortable with and build a long-term and meaningful relationship. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please let me know in the comments below what other types of content you want to see in the future. I love making these episodes for you, and I always enjoy hearing back from you guys. Also, if you're looking to set up your own brand and you want my personal one-on-one consultation, I offer limited single slots every single week. So check the link in the description. I'm pretty much booked out for this week and next week, but check your luck. Maybe we have in the next coming weeks. Guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fit Design TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.